Hi everyone, welcome back to NLTI. I am Manish Gupta, the founder of National Law Training Institute and a recent graduate of the National Law School of India University, Bangalore. I gave CLAT in 2021 and got an All India rank of 17. And in this video, I am going to share the exact timetable and the exact schedule that I followed during my CLAT preparation that helped me get an All India rank of 17 and enter the dream university of most of you, that is the National Law School of India University, Bangalore. Now, as July is starting, a lot of people have started going to the schools as well. Your summer vacations are over. And with only 6 months remaining for CLAT 2027, it is highly important that you stick to a daily routine, you stick to a timetable so that your preparation does not go haywire and it remains in a structured and uniform manner. So here, the CLAT timetable that actually works, it is built on data, discipline, and quotes and not discipline and quotes. And I'm going to show exactly what I followed during my preparation that will help you in your preparation as well. So stay tuned because this video is going to be very helpful for anyone who is feeling a bit lost. They don't know how to start their preparation, how many hours to dedicate per day, and how to properly balance their school with the CLAT examination. So first things first, we will first look at the section-wise weightage of the CLAT paper so that we know exactly where to put our most time on. Because some sections like the quantitative techniques section, even though highly rewarding, does not offer a great return on investment as there are only 10 to 12 questions. तो हम ऐसे section पर अपना ज़्यादा time spend करेंगे जो actually में paper में ज़्यादा weightage रखता है. For example, the legal and the GK section, क्योंकि उसमें सबसे ज़्यादा questions आते हैं. So that is why we are first going to discuss the section-wise weightage. So English language, we have around 22 to 26 questions, approximately 22% of the weightage. In GK section, we have 28 to 32 questions, around 27%. In legal reasoning, again, we have 28 to 32 questions, again, around 27% of the entire paper's weightage goes to legal reasoning. Then we have logical reasoning. Logical reasoning is further divided into critical reasoning, that is CR, and AR, that is analytical reasoning. Critical reasoning is mostly passage based, similar to what the English reading comprehension section offers. And analytical reasoning में topics like puzzles, syllogisms, arrangements, coding, decoding, blood relations, etc. are seen. Logical reasoning में कितने questions हैं? Similar to English section, around 22 to 26, usually 24 भी आते हैं, and around 22% of the weightage. And then finally we have quantitative techniques, also known as maths, in which we have only 10 to 14 questions, usually 10 to 12 भी आते हैं, and this has only 10% of the paper's weightage. So accordingly, we will make a schedule that works the best, keeping in mind the paper pattern. The cognitive performance curve. तो ये ऐसे टाइम हमने यहाँ पे मेंशन किया है जब आपकी brain functioning at peak होती है and when it's at the lowest. So at 6 a.m. when you just wake up, you are fresh, you have had 8 hours of sleep, you are working at peak fluid intelligence, and this is the time that is best for complex logic and legal reasoning drills. कई बच्चे होता है सुबह सुबह उठ के मैथ्स करेंगे. No, maths is not for 6 a.m. Maths at 6 a.m. you have to do those things that require critical thinking, that require critical reasoning, and require your mind to be completely fresh and not fatigued or burnt out at all. Then we come at 2 p.m. So बीच में हमने सोच लिया कि आपका स्कूल का टाइम है, around 7 to 1 everyone would have their school. Around 2 p.m. is the time that in which you have a cognitive dip. Your brain is fatigued after long hours at school or after long hours at coaching institutes if you are going in a morning coaching institute. This is the cognitive dip जब आपका brain would not be working at its ideal capacity. And this is also the time when CLAT exam happens. So CLAT exam happens from 2 to 4 p.m. And this is also unfortunately the time of cognitive dip in which you are fatigued, you are burnt out, and you are tired. Your brain is not as fresh as you'd want it to be. So this is the perfect time for your mock training to fight exam day fatigue. A lot of people do not give mocks during 2 to 4 p.m. and when they give it around in the morning 10 to 12 or 12 to 2. That is the time when your brain is fine. Your brain is working fine. It's not tired as usual, and it's not burnt out. You're not fatigued. You are very fresh. तो क्या होता है जब बच्चे actual CLAT exam देने जाते हैं 2 to 4 p.m. में, they get burnt out a lot. They get tired. Their brain stops functioning at its peak. So what you have to do to counter that exam day fatigue is that you have to give your mock always in this time slot, that is 2 to 4 p.m. in which you are facing a cognitive dip. So you have to train your mind to beat that cognitive dip, to beat that afternoon dip, so that you are functioning at your peak capacity. Your brain is functioning at its zenith when you are appearing for the final CLAT examination. So 2 p.m. is the time for your mock training. Then we come around 8 p.m. consolidation phase. Now you have had a long day. You have done your logical reasoning and legal reasoning drills. You have given a mock, and now you just want to consolidate. You want to wind down, and just what you have to do is you have to do light review and formula logs. 8 p.m. is also the time when you can start with your quantitative techniques, and you can also start a bit of your GK also, because GK also does not require a lot of critical thinking. In fact, it's a very interesting task that you have come up with a topic that you want to research on. Now you're just Googling, you're going on multiple pages like Wikipedia, delving deep into what are the types of questions that could be asked from a particular topic. So around 8 p.m. you have to just revise, you have to wind down, you have to consolidate whatever you have done during your entire day, and you can maybe start with your quantitative techniques, because it will keep you fresh, it will not tire your brain out, it is interesting. And also, even if you are feeling sleepy, that it will help to counter that sleep fatigue also, mathematics. So you have to train your brain to perform when the exam actually happens. Irrespective of when you wake up, irrespective of when you sleep, one thing that you have to assure starting today is that between 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. you are at your maximum functioning capacity. You do not feel sleepy, you do not feel tired, and you do not feel like taking a break during that time frame of 2 to 4 p.m. because that is the time when the CLAT exam happens. So you have to train your brain accordingly starting today. Now, let's break it down a bit. Let's break down each time slot a bit. So block 1, we have classified each study schedule as blocks. So block 1 is your 6 a.m. when you have to indulge in active reading. And this is the compulsory editorial drills that we are talking about. So step 1, read 800 words in under 8 minutes. So the editorials of the Hindu or the explained section of the Indian Express have around 800 words of editorials. So सबसे पहले आपको क्या करना है? You have to read those 800 words in a timed fashion. You cannot do passive reading. You cannot take forever to read all these editorials. आपको फिक्स टाइम, यू हैव टू टाइम योरसेल्फ, ट्राई टू डू इट विद इन 8 to 10 minutes कि 8 to 10 minutes में you read the entire 800 word articles. Now what is the second step? You have to summarize the author's core argument in exactly one sentence. So for example, you have read an article. Now just take 30 seconds in your mind and summarize whatever the author said. Do not write it down. No need to take a note anywhere. Just summarize in your own words in your mind what was the author's, what is the summary of the entire passage. Now step 3, identify the author's tone, critical, analytical, narrative. Now a lot of times CLAT will ask you the tone of the passage also. If you have not yet done or covered your syllabus of tones, it is highly important that you do that as well. So now अब आपको क्या करना है? आपको tones cover करनी है उस article, उस passage की. Just take another 30 seconds and think in your mind what was the tone of the passage. Was it critical? Was it expository? Was it descriptive? Was it narrative? Or was it analytical? तो ये आपको again, this is the third step of reading an editorial. Now step 4 and final, extract one structural inference from implied data. I'd go one step ahead. If I were preparing, if I was in your place, what I'd do is I'd take another 30 seconds, 1 minute in my mind, and I'll think about what is the premise that the author is introducing, what is the conclusion that the author is making, what is the inference that I am taking away, and lastly, what is the assumption that bridges the gap between the premise and the conclusion. So all of this you have to do when you're reading an editorial. You cannot simply keep reading it without thinking about it, without debriefing it in your mind, and simply taking it forever or a long time to read it. Once you have read it, summarize it, find the author's tone, and then find the structural elements of the passage also. This is the premise, this is the assumption, this is the conclusion, and this is the inference. Once you have done this, you will be sure that if that editorial comes in the paper, you will be good to go. You would have already understood the passage, you would have already read it once, and you can simply just go give it another look, give it another read, and you will be good to go with all the question answers that follow it. So why is it also important? Because CLAT exam tends to ask a lot of questions, a lot of passages from Hindu editorials or the Indian Express explained section. तो अगर आप ये articles अभी से अच्छे से पढ़ना शुरू कर दोगे, so for the next 6 months, if there is a passage that comes from these editorials, you will be good to go. You will be very sorted that you would have already read and understood that passage properly. This is the one formula, one article, read it in speed, do the RC skills, and also will help you with GK awareness. Now we come to block 2, that is 7 a.m. So 1 hour you spend on editorials and newspaper reading. Now block 2 is at 7 a.m. you do your legal rails. 15 questions, try to solve around 3 to 4 sets, 90 seconds per question max. Take around 1 hour to solve, 1 hour or 45 to 50 minutes to solve these questions. And after that, it is very important that you characterize your errors, because it is hardly ever going to be the case that you get all answers correct. Now, whenever you get an answer wrong, it is very important that you characterize those mistakes so that the next time you are solving a legal question or a legal passage, you know exactly where you went wrong the previous time and you will not repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So now characterize those mistakes in these 3 error buckets. Firstly, misread the principle. What does it mean? You applied a rule you assumed, not the one given. So a lot of times people get confused between culpable homicide and murder simply because they do not properly read what the principle given in the passage is, but they bring in their own external knowledge either from coaching classes or from their own self-study material that they're relying on. So do not misread the principle, read exactly. And the fix is that read principle twice before touching the facts. The fix is simple, do not bring in your external knowledge, just stick to the principle and maybe read it twice before you even go to the questions. Second error bucket in legal reasoning questions usually is misapplied to facts, that you have read the principle properly, but now you have misapplied that principle to the facts. That is, you got the application wrong. You read the principle correctly but got the logic wrong. A lot of times with the same principle, with the correct principle, you can get 2 answer options. For example, what is theft? That you take away something from someone's possession without their knowledge. Now you have understood the principle, but now while applying you make a mistake. For example, the facts could be that you are at your home with mother, you take her jewelry from her possession and sell it to somebody. Now a lot of times people will think that she's just my mother, even if I take it, it would not be theft. So now you have applied the principle to the facts in a wrong fashion. What is the fix? Slow down on fact analysis, underline the condition. You have to strictly adhere or abide by the principle, irrespective of whether the facts are personal to you or they are strange to you. So do not misapply the principle wrongly to facts. Trap answer is the third bucket of errors, in this happens that you choose the attractive wrong option. So a lot of times paper setters, what they do is that 2 answer options you will be easily able to eliminate, and you will be confused between 2 answer options, out of which one is the correct answer and one is the trap answer that the paper setter has deliberately added to the paper. And a lot of times what students end up doing is they end up selecting the trap answer that is usually more lucrative. What is the fix? That you have to verify the second best option before marking. When an option sounds pleasing to you, sounds attractive to you, do not mark it blindly. It is very important that you read the second best option as well very carefully. A lot of times what also happens is that option A and B are easily eliminatable. Option C you think is the correct one because it's the trap answer. And without even reading option D, you simply go ahead and select the option number C. This is the mistake that I'm talking about, that you do not even give a look at option number D because option C sounds appealing to you. In this case, you do not have to do that. You have to properly read the second best option also, that is option number D, to see which one works better for your principle and facts. Now, after 7 a.m., we are assuming that a lot of students will go to their schools or will start attending their coaching classes or end up doing other home chores. So the second block is from 4 p.m. Again, if you come back by 1 or 1:30, it is very important that from 2 to 4 should be your mock time. This is absolutely non-negotiable. 2 to 4 p.m. irrespective of whether you are going to school or you are not going to school, 2 to 4 p.m. reserved for the mock only. Even if you are going to school, someday whenever you are taking leaves, please attempt the mocks during 2 to 4 p.m. only. Now we come at our block number 3, that is 4 p.m. and this is the time when you start doing your GK. And GK we have characterized into the 5-layer note system. How do you go about making notes for GK? Firstly, you read the headline. What happened? So for example, it is yesterday or day before yesterday's news that 15 Indian tourists lost their lives in Vietnam's Phuoc Island. Now this is the headline. What happened? That 15 tourists lost their lives in Phuoc. Background contextual history. Now you can go a bit about the relevance of Vietnam for India, the India-Vietnam trade history, or if there is any organization like BRICS, G20, etc., that India share with Vietnam, that if India and Vietnam are a part of same organization, etc. Now you look at significance. Why would it matter today? Does it even matter today? If not, might not be relevant for your CLAT exam. But if it does, for example, the Iran-US ceasefire that was violated recently, it matters today because it is very relevant for your CLAT exam. Now, third is the significance, that you see why is it important today. Now, fourth, constitutional collection, articles, laws, or legal doctrines linked to it. A lot of times you will find some constitutional article, some policy, or some statutory article that would be linked to this. For example, if the Iran-US war is happening and there is violation of constitutional rights, there is violation of liberty, there's violation of right to life, you will come back to Article 21 to see what is right to life under the Constitution of India, what all does right to life entail, does it entail right to live peacefully, does it entail right to a healthy environment. All of these things you will then link it with the Constitution or any other statute. Then you look at CLAT angle, expected passage themes. Then you simply go up, you type Vietnam tourist, the Hindu, read the Hindu editorial if there's any, the Hindu news on that, the Indian Express news on that, so that if there's any passage that comes from that particular topic, it is much expected that the passage will be from reputed sources only, like the Hindu or the Indian Express. So look at the CLAT angle also for every news. Time split, 30 minutes new content. So every time you start, you spend 30 minutes on reading new content and then 30 minutes active revision. Because if you do not revise, you will forget what you read today. This was the case for me, that if I read something today, 3 days later, I would forget about it. I would completely mess up the facts. I would completely mess up whatever I have read about it, static GK or current GK, if I did not revise. So for me, what was the case was that every day I will spend 30 minutes reading new things, reading new sources, reading new events, and then 30 minutes to revise whatever I read over the past 1 week. So do the same. Now, once you have spent around an hour on GK, take a 15-minute break, and we will start with now our block 4, that is from 5:15 onwards. What you have to do in this time is you have to practice English reading comprehensions. Precisely what you have to do is reading analysis, daily target, solve 2 high-level passages in 30 minutes. This is more time given. I'd say solve 2 high-level passages in 15 minutes or solve 4 high-level passages in 30 minutes. This is what you have to do. And now you have to set some accuracy baseline targets, that if you're doing inference questions, target at least 75% accuracy. If you're doing tone identification questions, target at least 90% accuracy. And main idea summary questions around 100% accuracy. Core pivot that you have to keep in mind here is that stop answering what the passage states, start answering what it implies. A lot of times the answers will not be directly from the passage, but what is your takeaway or what is implicit in the passage. So read between the lines, think critically what is your takeaway from the passage rather than passively reading whatever is given in the passage. Block 5, after you have spent 30-45 minutes on your reading comprehension. Now we come to our block 5 starting 6:15 p.m. in which we will do logical reasoning. Core concepts in logical reasoning, specifically the CR section, is strengthening weakening, because lately the focus has shifted to strengthening weakening questions. When I gave CLAT, the emphasis was more on assumption, conclusion, inference, premise, but now they want to test your argumentation skills. They want to test how well you can argue as a lawyer. So they have introduced higher emphasis on strengthening weakening questions. So map out structural relationships, find the missing link between premise and conclusion, focus on assumptions, pinpoint the unstated truth required for the conclusion to survive, and the map drill for every incorrect answer, physically write the argument path. For every answer you get or for every passage you read, try to write it in this map format, that you first write the premise or the evidence that the author has introduced, then you write the unstated belief, and then you write the conclusion. If somebody does not know what this is, for example, there is a statement that the state government proposed building more highways to reduce traffic congestion. Take 30 seconds or take 10 seconds and think about what the assumption is. I'll repeat the statement. State government proposed building new highways to reduce traffic congestion. Now, the assumption here is that building new highways will in fact reduce traffic congestion, because if building new highways will not reduce traffic congestion, then the entire argument falls apart. Then the entire statement is useless. The state's logic is rendered redundant of building new highways if they do not in fact help with traffic congestion. So the premise is the unstated belief that is assumed by a person while making a statement. For example, if I'm telling you that, hi Raghav, go get me a glass of water. In this statement, I am making a couple of assumptions. Firstly, that Raghav understands English. Secondly, Raghav is able to move or has a mobility device. And thirdly, Raghav will obey my order. If any of these assumptions fail, then my statement is redundant, because if Raghav does not understand English, if Raghav is unable to move, or I know for a fact that Raghav will not obey my order, then what is the point of even making that statement in the first place? So whenever you are reading a passage or a statement, try making this mental map sort of a thing, so that you know where you're going wrong, whether you are unable to identify the premise properly, or it's a problem with assumption, or it's the problem with conclusion. Now block 7, around 7 p.m, you have had a long day already. You have given a mock, you have done your RCCR logical legal drills. Now it's time to consolidate everything and focus on quants. Only 10% of the paper, only 10 to 12 questions, so need not give more time than this. The DI competitive edge, so around 5 minutes you spend on calculation drills, percentages, ratio, reciprocals, fraction, revise every day. So a lot of times you might not know what 7 by 11 is, or what 11 by 7 is in percentages. For example, what is 20% is 1 by 5. What is 5% is equal to 1 by 20. So all these drills you need to remember by heart. You need to know what 7 3 by 4 is, or maybe 1 by 7, 11 by 7 is, or 7 by 11 is, because these are the concepts that are seen in the paper. And if you know these calculations by heart, you will have a competitive edge. So for 5 minutes, revise all of these fractions and percentages. And for 20 minutes, solve the data interpretation sets completed in a strict time pressure. I'd say 1 is a bit less. Try solving 2 to 3 DI sets in under 20 minutes whenever you are practicing your quants. No trigonometry, no geometry, just clean speed, arithmetic and logic. So do not focus about complex things like trigonometry, etc. So to summarize what your daily routine and daily timetable would look like, just have a look at this slide. So we'll start at 6 a.m. in the morning, preferably when your brain is working at its peak capacity. You have just woken up and you are fresh. Around when you have, so 6 to 7, 6:45, you focus on your English plus GK. How do you do that? You do newspaper, specifically the Hindu or Indian Express. Spend around 45 minutes to 1 hour. You are covering your GK as well, and you're covering your daily quota of reading as well. Daily reading, active reading, understand what the author is making, what the arguments author is making in the passage. Then second block, 7 to 8, do your legal reasoning drills around 60 minutes. Solve around 5 to 6 passages followed by 40 to 50 questions. Do not spend more than 6 to 7 or 7 to 8 minutes per passage. Then go to your school, enjoy your day, do not burn out a lot. 2 to 4 p.m. if you get time, if you get free from school at a reasonable hour, 2 to 4 p.m. should be your mock time, followed by analysis. This will take you approximately 2 to 3 hours. After that, if you do not take a mock that day, then after coming back from school, 4 to 5 p.m. block would be your current affairs plus GK section. Spend around an hour, 30 minutes of reading new sources, new articles, and 30 minutes of revising your things that you've already done. Then block 4 should be your English reading comprehension, 45 minutes to 1 hour. Do around 4 to 5 passages again in this time slot. Then 6:15 to 7 p.m. around 1 hour again. Do your logical reasoning, do your CR plus AR. Do around 3 to 4 sets for CR, 3 to 4 sets for analytical reasoning. Then final block, when you are already tired, consolidate everything what you have done, and final nail would be your quantitative techniques, that is maths. Spend around 30-35 minutes, that's all. Do around 3 to 4 DI sets, and that's all. You will be free after 8-9. If you want to do anything, do GK, because that is the more interesting section for the CLAT examination. Read as much as you can in the GK section, follow up Wikipedia, do online quizzes, go to NLTI's sidebar and see if you have any missed out on any important topic, and that should be your day during your CLAT prep for the next 6 months. The NLTI Toppers framework, what we do, we have AI feedback loops wherein we use algorithms to identify accuracy trends in specific legal and critical subtopics. Then we provide you with one-on-one mentorship. You will get access to mentors from the National Law School Bangalore who will look after you on a one-on-one case basis, in which you're getting strategic plus academic guidance, monthly reviews, weekly timetables, monthly timetables, and strategic guidance to go that extra mile. And if you're stuck or in a score range, if your mock scores have gotten stagnant, one-on-one mentorship is the way to go about. Then maintain an error log. You have to do consistent data entry. Only then you will be able to understand where you are going wrong and how you have to improve going forward. That's it from this video. Hope you found this useful. Hope you now have some clarity on what your ideal day should look like, how you should go about covering major topics and major sections on everyday basis, and how much time is an ideal time to spend on every section. That's it from this video. If you found this useful, please let us know in the comment section, because that incentivizes us to keep producing more such free videos on our YouTube channel and help you in your CLAT preparation absolutely free of cost. Thank you so much. Have a good day.